Click on this. Cool. So now you can advance this.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening.
So we will go ahead and get started. Our communications team is here, and they are live streaming our meeting on YouTube, on the CVB YouTube channel. And also, our IT CIO is here on hand for any technical glitches. So with that, we'll move on to our agenda. Mr. Chair, if you'd like to review the agenda, I'll let you go ahead and take care of that.
Alrighty, yes. Hello, everyone. We're going to go ahead and start the meeting. We're going to call the meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. on this fine May 13th. So we're going to go ahead and discuss possible actions regarding February 12 board meeting minutes. Did everybody get a chance to look those over in the email that was sent?
Yes.
I move we accept the minutes as written.
I second that.
All right, so with the motion, Margot, and second with Tony, the minutes are approved. We're going to move on to item number 3, a discussion on possible action regarding city's year-end 2021 budget.
So what I'll do is I'll give you an overview and talk in general terms. And then we're going to dive into additional detail with each slide. And when I come to the end of each slide, I'll give you an opportunity to ask questions or make comments. So fiscal year 2021 is what we're looking at this evening, which begins October 2020 and runs through September 2021. We are forecasting a weak first quarter and a healthier second quarter through fourth quarter if travel restrictions continue to be eased and traveler intent continues in a positive direction. Planning for tourism promotion with a fully staffed department. Reductions in spending, which is going to include events, stamp tours, printing, trade shows, conferences, advertising, our cultural arts grant, preservation in the operating budget. To have those reductions, this is a good opportunity for us to examine what's effective and what's necessary in the recovery COVID-19 timeframe and what really is going to tie back to our mission. Does anyone have any questions right now?
No.
So this next slide shows the CVB fund summary. It gives an overview comparing actuals from 2019, the 2020 original budget, our amended budget, and then our proposed budget for 2021, which is what's highlighted in the blue rectangular box. So what you'll see there is that we're showing a projected total revenue of $932,700, and our total expenses coming in at $923,000. We do have a healthy fund balance and are showing that near 4.9 million. Are there any questions on this slide?
No.
So this is a snapshot of what we're calling our operating budget, and it has, as you can see, several line items that go into quite a bit of detail. But just visually, if you'll look at the yellow highlighted sections, those are the areas where we've had some slight reductions. And so I'll put you into this slide, a close-up of what those are. So we're seeing a little bit of a reduction in our programs. which coincides with kind of what we're going to be dealing with in the new landscape post COVID-19. There are going to be some restrictions on the types of events that we can host, as well as the number of events. Is true for any fam trips that we might be hosting with media. We do need to handle printing or reprint of our visitor guide, but I reduced that number, that cost not substantially. I've reduced that number because we're going to have to re-examine the visitor guide itself. It's a 40-page piece right now, and the reprint is going to entail the removal of a lot of businesses that are closed. Our trade show is going to also depend on travel restrictions and which shows are going to be relevant to generate new business for us. We have conferences scheduled. It's going to also depend on staffing availability and which ones would be relevant to programming. And then we have a slight reduction in advertising, but enough that we will be able to promote a healthy tourism program to support our efforts. Do you have any questions regarding these reductions?
Nope.
Was this hard for you to estimate, Tracy, for 21?
Yes, because we really don't know what the total impact will be regarding travel. But what is pretty hopeful is that, and Manny and Tony can attest to this more than I can, is we are seeing some occupancy levels with a slight lift, but the rate is down, so our revenue is impacted.
Mm-hmm.
Here, Tony, do you want to share anything about your thoughts on what we're seeing with travel?
Yeah, sure. Regrettably, we're getting a lot of walk-in, last-minute business, last-minute booking. So it's, the system that we use with Hilton is called the Grow, and it does a forecast for us. But it's been under forecasting by at least 10%, I would say, 10 to 20% actually on a daily basis and week to week. So it looks like they are picking up. I think our biggest concern right now is getting word from Brazoria County on reopening pools, on reopening meeting space to more than 10 persons because we've got substantial meeting space. We're starting to book a few meetings, and when I say a few, it's still going to have to be 10 persons in a room that's designed for more like 60 people. So we still have to separate these folks out. But getting to your initial thought on travel, mostly we're still getting local market, but not much from the overseas market. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think people will get more confidence as time goes by to travel, and hopefully that will continue.
I agree. We are getting a few more. We'll see how. I think Brazoria County is probably supposed to do an announcement from Judge Matt, like toward the end of this week. Is that right? John, do you know about when he might make an announcement?
I think they're pretty well following the governor's announcements as far as when that will go from 10 to something else. I would expect that sometime around the first part or within the first 10 days of June, we'll see something. That'd be my guess.
Okay.
Manny, did you want to add any comments about what you're seeing on the travel side with your hotels?
I'll just second what Tony was saying, that we do have we've been picked up a few walk-ins last week, ever since the move has been lifted kind of, but there's still not much going on in the area. We're seeing people coming from Houston because our rates are so low right now that They're just kind of taking advantage of kind of the staycations or just get away from home. Schools are still closed, so that's one downside for that. But we really need to tap into that corporate market again, where Pearland is good at, and that way we can increase our revenues. But we're just not seeing that pickup right now. We're running about 12, 15%, 20% occupancy at our sleep-in, and then maybe a little bit more at our comfort, but nothing where it was last year, this same time last year. So.
Okay, moving on to, let's see what happened here.
Hey, Tracy, one other thing that will probably affect specifically the hotels along 288, that construction is scheduled to be substantially complete by the end of this month, at least on the Brazoria County section. And that should make a huge difference in willingness of people, to travel up and down that area and stay in hotels along that route.
Oh, good to know. Okay, thank you.
Any word on when they'll finish the work from Pearland into Houston downtown?
We don't have a recent update on the Houston section, just the Brazoria County section.
Okay.
The slide that I have on screen now is some additional expenses, which includes the cultural arts grant. And we do have a designated line item for historic preservation with a small dollar amount in there. So the arts grant, we've budgeted for $50,000 in 2021, and then the historic preservation line item is moved down to $5,000. Do you have any questions on this slide?
I do not.
Okay. Next item on the agenda was the executive director's report. So I'll go ahead and move into that if there are no other questions right now.
Go right ahead.
Go ahead.
So as we mentioned, hotel occupancy levels are down. We did install a deferral program for the first quarter, which is first quarter calendar year, it's second quarter fiscal year, which allowed the hotels to opt into the program for a 90-day delay in their payments. So 8 of the hotels opted into the program, 4 remitted payments on the April 30th deadline. So that was $106,000 that came through. With regard to advertising, most of our spends have been paused as soon as we had the closures and we knew the situation that we were dealing with. Most spends were paused. A lot of run dates were delayed. We did not have to cancel any contracts. Most of the vendors work with us on renegotiating run dates. We pivoted our messaging on our website and social media to be more of a local resource. So we were able to feature, the restaurants who were doing curbside pickup and stores that were doing curbside that moved to online sales, and then eventually stores that opened. Our travel message in areas where we still were running a message, it became when the time is right, prepare to love Pearland. We did have some in-kind banner ads running on Tour Texas in May. And as things are moving along and travel restrictions are being eased, we will start to resume our SEO and SEM efforts later this month based on recommendations from what we're seeing within the industry. With regard to the advisory board, we do have one vacant position. We have an applicant that is in review, and that will go through the process once city offices officially open again. I've been working with the cultural arts grant recipients on their programming to reschedule and make accommodations for the situation where we needed to look at dates later in the year and then offer extensions on their final report and the paperwork necessary to be compliant with the grant. With regard to events, we had some cancellations, specifically a softball tournament in April, the Pearland Half Marathon, we had a dive meet, and one other small consumer event. Those events were actually canceled. We were able to reschedule Opry on the Square. Tony Booth Day will happen in November. Music to My Beers, we have rescheduled to July, but we're evaluating whether or not that event will take place in July or if we will have to reschedule it again. That will take place at the town center. And we are working with EDC to have a live art activation for their Prepare to Love It campaign. So that's the one on the immediate horizon that we're monitoring whether or not it will take place in July. The
Which one was that train again? Sorry.
Music to My Beers.
Okay.
So it's craft beer and music taking place at the town center on a Saturday from 2 to 9 p.m.
Okay.
The geocaching program will also be delayed. I'm working with Urban Forestry to determine what our new dates will look like. It might be late fall. That's still to be determined. Our Meeting Max housing platform was up for renewal in May, and we opted to discontinue that program. What I found working with it over the last 6 months is that it really isn't effective for the CVB of our size. It did not prove to be the right tool to help us with sports events. From what our initial thoughts were 3-4 years ago, maybe 4 years ago when we started with Meeting Max. So what we will do is we'll revert to the process that we had in place prior to using a housing reservation system, whereby I will collect rates from the hotels when we are hosting a group, and we will place that on our website as a landing page, and then that landing page URL will be promoted to the participants, which would allow them to book through the hotels however the hotels prefer, whether a hotel wants to push them to an online booking link or if they want to push them to make reservations over the phone. But we will have to work as a group to determine which method is going to be best to help us track the event once we get to a place where we have multiple events happening again. The Pairscape project, we do have 2 pairs on order from our discussion at the last quarterly meeting to replace not only the pair at Independence Park that's damaged, but also the pair that we wanted to have in place to honor Mayor Reed. Those pairs are actually coming from Chicago. So with the lockdown situation, I don't have an estimated update of when we would receive those. So that's just another situation that we're monitoring. But given that the election was moved to November, we have a little bit more time with when we're actually going to unveil, I guess, the pair for the mayor. The Railroad Depot project is on hold for now until we're able to evaluate that entire program. With regard to staffing at the CVB, our vacancies were placed on hold in March once we were moved into this emergency management role at the city. However, since then, we do have plans to resume a candidate selection search for the sales manager vacancy with a target date to hire in early August. So that's something that will be on the horizon here soon. I just learned this week that the Pearland ISD folks are moving forward with their Adidas Turner Volleyball Classic, which is going to take place in August. They do acknowledge that they're going to have to make some adjustments as the governor makes announcements and UIL offers additional guidance. But as of right now, they did ask me to collect hotel rate information so that they could relay it to their participants. They have a smaller field of teams participating, but they do expect teams traveling from El Paso, Austin, San Antonio, and around the state. So some of the hotels have already provided rate information. I'm hoping to have that by Friday so that we can have a landing page available for the planners. And then the last item that is still on the books is the USFA softball tournament. It's still reserved for November 21st weekend. But of course, the scope and scale is really going to depend on what we're dealing with regard to the outcome of this COVID situation. Do you guys have any questions or comments on any of the items from my report?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Hey, Tracy, if there's any, I know you mentioned a few cancellations. Would you send that out to everybody just so that we're kind of all on the same page? Because when we work with our revenue managers, it may be something that we've noted in our forecasting as an upcoming group or something. So I know you keep in touch with Andrea, but just let us know what big major groups have canceled for sure.
Okay.
If you don't mind. Thank you.
All right. Well, that's going to take care of all the major points of our agenda. Does anybody have anything to add or? All righty. Well, we can go ahead and make the adjournment of this. Everybody be safe out there and be careful. Tracy, thank you for all the good information and hope to see everybody in their office pretty soon, huh?
I would like to give Tracy a thank you too for all the work she does and for helping me with the different art situations we've had, and really appreciate her really taking care of everything down at the CBB. It's great to watch her in action. Thank you, Tracy.
Appreciate that, Margot. Thank you.
Yeah, so much. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, meeting adjourned at 6:24 p.m.
All right.
Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you guys. Have a good one.
When's our next meeting?
Bye.
July 8th.
July 8th. Okay. All right. Thank you guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.